Bank manager kicked out Stinky homeless woman. When he realized her identity, he was shocked. A manager kicked out a homeless woman from a bank only to be shocked by the scar on her forehead, which he recognized immediately. Then he discovered something about his past he had never imagined. "Ma'am, you have to leave immediately," the security guard told the unkempt and dirty-looking woman for the second time after she made her way inside the bank. "I can't leave. I need to ask for a loan," the woman said shyly but firmly. "My son needs it desperately." The manager, Ronald, came out and asked what was happening. "Mr. Daniels, this woman refuses to leave and says she wants a loan," the security guard informed Ronald, and they both looked at the woman worriedly and disdainfully. Ronald was frozen in place. The security guard was shocked, and the entire bank's operations ceased at her words. They were all looking at the manager to see what he would do. "Excuse me, ma'am. Loans here are hard to get. What do you have to offer as collateral?" Ronald asked calmly. "Collateral? Can't I just get a loan if I promise to pay?" the woman asked, confused. Other staff and clients of the bank were staring at her, and the woman cowered in shame. "No," Ronald replied, almost laughing maliciously at the woman. "You have to offer something like a house or at least a car. Something. I didn't know that, but I can't offer my car. It's also my home. Our home. We need it, but we need this money too." The woman started to beg, approaching the manager and holding his suit jacket's sleeve tightly. Ronald had to tell the woman the harsh truth. "You need to get out of here immediately. This branch is mostly used by high-end clients. We're talking millions of dollars. You can try asking at another bank, but I don't think they'll listen either. Get out now before we force you out," he said, tight-lipped so other patrons would not hear him. But the woman started wailing and wouldn't let go of the manager. "Please, you must help me. Please, my son." She pulled on his suit jacket, and Ronald lost all shred of politeness left in him. "Let go of me right now," he exclaimed, pushing the woman off him and wiping his jacket clean. The woman fell to the floor, causing her hoodie to expose more of her face and hair. Ronald's eyes bore down at her in disgust, but something caught him off guard. There was a familiar scar on her forehead. He had seen it before many, many years ago. "I'll see her out, Mr. Daniels," the security guard offered and walked toward the woman, but he stopped when Ronald placed his hand on his shoulder. The manager was about to lean down and ask the dirty, homeless woman if they had met before, but she suddenly stood up. "I came here for a loan, and I will get one somehow. It's not for me. It's for your son, Ronald, whatever you're called, Mr. Daniels." She spat at him, and now she had disdain written all over her face. Ronald's whole world stopped at her words, which confirmed that he knew her. She was Mary Ann, his former fiancée who he ghosted and had not seen in many years. "My son?" he asked quietly, breathlessly. "Yes, Ronald. You left me and I was pregnant. And you took everything," Mary Ann yelled, calling the entire bank's attention. "I was left with nothing and no one and no help. We've been living in my car and shelters for years. Now our son, Joshua, is sick and I can't pay for it." Ronald was frozen in place. The security guard was shocked, and the entire bank's operations ceased at her words. They were all looking at the manager to see what he would do. Ronald cursed himself because he knew this scene would get to his superiors, and he could get fired. But mostly he was thinking about how he had left Mary Ann, how he had not been ready for marriage, and how he wanted to disappear. It was a hard point in his life, but he had no idea she was pregnant and that she wouldn't be able to bounce back. Finally, his body unfroze, and he asked the guard to escort Mary Ann to his office while he stayed back and apologized to the patrons. He talked to his staff for a few minutes before entering his office and facing the music. Mary Ann told him more. Everything about their son, his sickness, how much money they needed, etc., but she also went into detail about her life. How hard her pregnancy had been, how broke she was, and how she struggled with depression while trying to feed their baby. "I even thought I would have to put him up for adoption, but I didn't have the guts to do that either," I was a cowardly mother who couldn't give him the best or even just the basics. But I finally plucked up the courage to search for you, and here you are. A fancy bank manager who feels entitled to kick people out just because they don't have money, nice clothes, or a good place to shower. Marianne finally stopped ranting as tears surfaced. Her sobs filled the office for a long time, and Ronald remained quiet. When she finally calmed down, she squared her shoulders, stared at him firmly, and pressed her lips before uttering, "So, are you going to help me get a loan?" Ronald sighed. His hair was a mess from running his fingers through his hair, and his eyes were wandering but not focusing on anything. He was restless, like the guilt of the past was eating at him. "No, I can't do that," he finally replied, looking down. "You have to." "Wait, let me finish," Ronald interrupted, raising one finger. "Getting loans here is hard even for the staff, but I have a good salary. I'll pay for everything. The years of child support I missed and everything else from now on." "Really?" Marianne asked, her jaw almost dropping. "Just like that? After ghosting me?" "Yeah, I was a stupid man back then, Marianne. I can't change that. I can't change how you lived back then, but I can do something now. I can help with our son," Ronald stated. "Joshua, what is he like?" "He must be 5 or 4. He's 5 already and so amazing. He's so brave, even in the scary hospitals." Marianne started, and soon her anger disappeared as she talked about her child. They continued speaking, and Ronald listened intently. Afterward, he kept his promise. He paid for Joshua's treatments and surgeries. Luckily, he didn't lose his job at the bank. He also found an apartment for Marianne and their son, and promised to pay for it so they would never be homeless again. Once everything calmed down and Joshua got better, Marianne found a stable job, and she and her son's life changed drastically. Ronald and Marianne never dated again and didn't like each other very much, but their son linked them, and Ronald wanted a relationship with Joshua. Because no matter how you feel about a former partner, you must step up for your kids. What can we learn from this story? Ghosting people is never right. If you want to end a relationship, just do it openly and honestly. That way, both parties can get closure. Never treat people with disrespect. Ronald and everyone at the bank treated Marianne horribly for her appearance and smell, not knowing she was the manager's ex-fiancée and mother of his child.